Mavs young superstar impressed in his playoff debut versus the Clippers, knocking down a 28-foot step-back winner in overtime and averaging 31 points, over 9 rebounds, and over 8 assists in 6 games. Max, are Luka and the Mavs title contenders this season?
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. If Porzingis is healthy, they're title contenders. And by the way, they're being careful with him. They're giving him that first month. They're going to be careful. Look at what Porzingis did in the playoffs. Talk about second bananas who show up. The dude is 7'3", can face up, can take a big off the dribble, can defend in space, can defend in the paint. Yeah, Luka's an MVP caliber player. Porzingis is not far behind. And then they have Dorian Finney-Smith and Maxi Kleber, long defenders, big guys who can also really shoot. And then they got Tim Hardaway Jr., who actually is an underrated defender at this point and is just a good player at this point. They just made the trade for Richardson, who's more of a D and 3 than a 3 and D. But yes, the Mavericks, the Clippers were lucky to beat them because Porzingis got hurt. Otherwise, the Mavs would have played the Nuggets and maybe beaten them.
I don't know if that's true, number one, and I don't really know yet whether or not they're title contenders because they did lose Seth Curry. They lost to Curry. So I think that compromises their shooting. I'm not going to call them a better shooting team when Seth Curry is gone now, but I will also say this. Can they get, listen, can they win another playoff series again? Can they do that for me, please? Pretty please with sugar on top. Can they pull that off? Because it's been the last 10 years that has not been the case. I respect them. I respect their talent. I know Porzingis and Luka is that dude. And Porzingis can ball. But in terms of a title contender, we'll see. The jury is still out on that. I'm going to lean towards no for the time being.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I can't just give them that just yet. Not this year. In the future, yes. But like Max, to your point,
yes,
we have to see how Porzingis comes back. Because here it is, another knee surgery. I have to see, my eyes have to tell me that he's 100% healthy and he's going to be 100. They're going to be able to depend on him and he's going to be reliable for us health-wise. He haven't been healthy for a long time now. So with that being said, I can't just say that the Mavericks are a contender team. They're dangerous out in the West this year. But if Porzingis comes back healthy and they make it through a couple of rounds in the near future, yes, they are going to be competing for titles. But right now, I don't feel like they have all the necessary pieces in the role players to actually be considered a title contender.
What are they missing? What are they missing? I mentioned Dorian Finney-Smith, Kleber, and Hardaway Jr. can shoot from the outside, and they can all play defense actually now. And you got an MVP and a near MVP. If he's healthy, we all agree Porzingis' health is a question mark. But if they go into a playoff series healthy, that's a problem for anybody.
No, Max, I disagree. And here's why. One is that I feel like they need a veteran guy in that locker room with some type of championship experience. Although Luka is a stud, he's a superstar, and I get it. Porzingis is a star. But they need some other pieces in that locker room to help those guys and guide them the way. A coach, and Rick Carlisle, he's a good coach. I respect him a lot. He's a champion. He's been with the Mavericks for a long time. But a coach can only take you so far. As far as
the white flag. So far in his career, maybe it can change, but it hasn't been the case so far. And it's been largely a result of his play in the playoffs. I take no pleasure in saying that. I love Paul George. I love watching him play. But
they were down 3-1. They were down 3-1. Paul George had 26 and 33 before the game 7. You talking about one game. Well, that same one game, your leader didn't show up. Kawhi Leonard didn't show up either.
I'm talking about, by the way, you're right, although Kawhi wasn't hitting the backboard from a corner 3. But you're right, Kawhi had a bad game 7. There's so few bad performances from Kawhi throughout the years in the playoffs.
Go ahead, KP.
Paul George, there are many games, including in these last playoffs, where he didn't show up.
But go ahead, KP. Max, you keep talking about what's going on the court. A leader is more than just playing basketball, Max. Leadership is everything. The whole is making everybody feel comfortable, everybody feel whole. Being able to address situations when things are not going well for you, but things are going well for the team. That's a real leader. Kawhi Leonard is not pulling no one to the side. If Reggie Jackson is having is going through a shooting slump or having a bad 10 games, you think Kawhi Leonard is pulling Reggie Jackson to the side and having a conversation with him? Hell no. Paul George is. Max, that's a leader. It's only one way to paint a leader. It's not just show up and produce 25 and 9 and everybody else do what the hell y'all got to do. Just follow my lead far as my skill set, because everyone is not skilled like Kawhi, but a leader has to be vocal. Has to be vocal. If you ask anybody around the NBA,
but actually,
who's their leader in their locker room, what's their leader in the locker room? Just like in Golden State, Steph is not their leader. Draymond Green is their leader. He's the one that's doing all the talking. He's the vocal guy. He's the one that we hear all the time. Although Steph is the culture, he's the franchise, but he's not the leader. It's a difference.
What I would point out is teams where the leader is not the best player are in a tougher situation than teams where they are. By the way, Steph Curry is not the leader on the team. They were lucky to win one championship against the Cavs before KD showed up and created a power imbalance in the NBA where it was impossible for them to lose. Maybe that has something to do with it. But besides that, this is not a great choice. A dilemma is not just a tough choice. It's a choice between two bad options. These, if you want to paint Kawhi that way, and you may be right, he's incapable of doing it based on your experience, Perk, just showing up and leading by example. He has to be more vocal. It's not in him. Well, then Kawhi is not a good choice, but neither is Paul George. The question is, which leader can lead you to a title? That may be. That's why I think we all thought they should have gotten Rondo. They needed a guy like that. And maybe neither one of these guys are. If I had to choose between the two, give me the guy with 2 finals MVPs, not the guy with a reputation for going away in the playoffs.
Well, let's go to your guy, Max. Let's go to your guy, because this same Kawhi Leonard, you ain't never heard those complaints about LeBron. You ain't never heard those complaints about other leaders. You see guys complaining about him all the time. Well, privately, off the record and all of this other stuff. Why are they doing that? Because apparently, outside of his game, he's having a negative effect on the franchise, or at least he did last year.
Yeah, it could
but Matt, you can't move the goal.
You could argue he had a negative effect, although go ahead.
But Matt, you cannot continue to move the goalpost to fit your narrative. You can't do that. You keep moving the goalpost. No,
I'm not moving
keep
anything.
it in one spot.
I'm not.
Yeah,
I'll take the 2-time Finals MVP. You guys will take the guy who doesn't play in the playoffs. It's okay.
All right, cool. People moving the goalposts. I'm trying to move the conversation. Let's go here. The 4th best player on ESPN's top 10 ranking is Luka. NBA season preview continues tomorrow. Check us out. And I'm glad to see Brick is still flourishing. Check him out on ABC.